Hey, this is Paradise Killer, All Convictions. I've never commented a run before, but not many people play this category or this game. And that's a shame because both are a lot of fun and have a lot of depth to them. So I'm hoping that maybe making this will help somebody get started. As a warning though, to explain the rules of this category, I'm going to have to spoil the entire game up front. So if you haven't played it yet, please do that instead of watching this, it's worth it. I'm going to spoil things starting right now. There are 10 case files in this game listed on the right, as well as 2 conspiracies. A valid run convicts all guilty parties for each case and no innocent parties for any case. So we need evidence to convict Akiko of these 2 crimes, Carmelina of these 2, none for Crimson, Doomjazz or Henry, 2 for Lydia, even though she technically didn't kill anyone, but this is unavoidable, 2 for Sam, 2 for Witness, 5 for Yuri because he's a naughty guy, none for One Less Guess, 3 for Dainonagate, and finally none for the Sweet Killer Demon. With that said, I'll just start the run here and I'll talk about the evidence as we find it. I didn't script any of the rest of this, by the way, so it's either going to be more or less awkward. I'm not sure which. So we start the game by just clicking through text as fast as possible. If you alternate between clicking and the E key, it'll go slightly faster. Another thing that affects it is you want to be playing in 60 frames per second and not 30, because that affects how quickly you can do those inputs. So the first couple of minutes of this run are basically the same as any percent. RainbowNun talks through that in the current world record run, if you want to check that out. So straight away we want to be sprinting, and we want to open that door just before we talk to Shinji, because that saves a little bit of time. Then we just click through Shinji's text and run straight for Starlight. As soon as this key item obtained thing comes up, you want to run and jump for the Nightmare Computer. I missed it here, but you get one more chance after the Starlight introduction. And the reason we want to do that is we want to get as close to the Nightmare Computer as possible while cutscenes are playing, and while you're jumping, that momentum's conserved even when a cutscene starts up. So then we click through Judge's dialogue, pay attention to where the mouse cursor is, that's where you want it to be during this cutscene, and you don't want to move it between now and starting Nightmare Computer. Because what you can do is, you can press E really quickly and then click and get those first 2 go ahead boxes ticked before this cutscene even starts. I missed one of them there, but it saves a little bit of time. Then you just want to jump over these bars, which I failed to do, and then fall down into Paradise.
Killer.
So next thing we want to do, and this is different from any percent, is we want to grab this blood crystal here. A lot of the early games dominated by blood crystal hunting, and I'll explain that in a little while. Then we want to talk to Lydia. I haven't timed this, but in general, choosing the second option in these little dialogue sequences seems to be faster most of the time, so I just do that unless I know for sure one's specifically faster. Then we want to talk to Judge as normal, and we want to jump backwards as soon as Judge's intro card goes away. Again, just to save some time in cutscenes.
What the hell? What time? I don't sure. Where? How?
Truth waits for you.
I don't like this. Why? Who? That's weird.
Don't lady is
Crime cannot hide.
investigate.
Although actually, I'm not sure if it does save any time, because if you get through this fast enough, the door doesn't seem to open straight away. I'm not sure if there's anything you can do differently about that, but you'll see it stick here like 3 times. Then again, we jump down here, we get this blood crystal, and because we're going to want to fast travel here later, we go to the courthouse phone and we unlock that fast travel. Now we have 3 main goals right now. One is purchasing the air dash for 5 crystals, one is purchasing Crimson Starlight upgrade for 10 crystals, and the other one's talking to Witness, which I'll get into later. And so with that in mind, we're going to pick up as many easy blood crystals as we can on the way to Witness. There's 3 out here near the HQ, and then I jumped down under the barracks for a 4th one. I actually don't know what the fastest route for blood crystals is. That's probably a place that you could optimize fairly easily. Then we're going to run under the stairs for another crystal and then jump over to where Yuri is for a vending machine. Now that jump to Yuri is a little tricky. What you can do is double tap the crouch button at the tip of your jump to go just a little further and you should make it. Now, vending machines. This is another reason we need a bunch of blood crystals. We need 10 vending machines to get the final Starlight upgrade, which we do need for a really important piece of evidence later. So we get the first one here, and then we have to talk to Dead Nebula, and we just skip through that as fast as possible.
Dead Nebula, more refreshing than a... No way.
I was born to investigate.
Buy more drinks.
Next up, we get a blood crystal from this rock, and then we want to run round to the ramp and get back on the main street. What I try to do here is run up the banister and then jump straight onto the stairs, and I missed that. And then what I try to do here is jump on the rail and use the rail to get up on the opposite side of the street, and I missed that too. So this is a lot slower than it has to be. Anyway, once we're up, we get another blood crystal here. We want to run round through that archway and not get stuck on the sign, which I do, and then behind this alley. And when we jump in this little gap here, we want to crouch and take that crystal and then go through here. And then unlock another fast travel, the one near Witness, because we're going to have to come back here later. Next, we go up Witness's elevator to talk to him. So there's two pieces of evidence in this game that you need to build relationships with other characters to get. The first is the knowledge that Witness and Carmelina used to be married. So to get that, we need to hang out with Witness 3 times. So we're going to skip through his dialogue here. Then we're going to choose Hangout. We want to be careful not to pray with him because that is the slowest dialogue option in the game. So we say another time. He's mad at us. It's whatever. And then we get the blood crystal from his balcony up here. And my movement's really terrible in this run for some reason. Next, back on blood crystals, we want to jump down here. Get one from this box. And then go into this little enclosure to get 2 more from these bins and 1 in the shed. Then we jump over here and run around to the footpath, which will give us the air dash. And then before we do that, we'll buy another drink from the vending machine. So we grab this blood crystal, then we get the air dash, then we use that to dash jump up onto here and get another crystal, before jumping right over Crimson into this courtyard. We're just going to grab some more crystals and a vending machine from here. So dash jumping is more or less exactly what it sounds like. You just jump and then you dash upwards into the air and you get a lot of height, and that kind of skips the need for the double jump, which I didn't realise you could do until RainbowNun did it. So this is our second vending machine of 10.
It's actually our 3rd.
And we currently have 11 crystals after we take these last 2. And that's 10 for Crimson's upgrade, and then 1 more to buy another fast travel, which you'll see in a second. Another thing we can do with the air dash, which you'll see in a second, is dash hopping. And again, kind of what it sounds like. You alternate the jump and dash button in a steady rhythm, and it's a lot faster than running. It's a little tricky to get the timing right, at least for me, but even if you mess it up, it's still typically faster than just running. Then we dash over this gap and talk to Crimson, and just skip through her dialogue as fast as possible.
Sorry. The secrets are dangerous. Good, honey.
Then we want to go to Starlight upgrades and buy Visions of Cosmos for 10 blood crystals. We're going to need this to unlock a fair few Nightmare computers throughout the course of the run, and this is one of 3 Starlight upgrades. So then we want to leave Crimson and go to the right and purchase that fast travel for the sewers, which we're going to come back to twice, so it's very useful. So now that we have Cosmos and Air Dash, our priority now is the rest of the vending machines we need and any evidence we can get along the way. For some of that evidence, we're going to need to talk to Henry, and to get to Henry, we're going to need to talk to Akiko here. You can dash through this incoming Starlight call for a little while and it saves like a couple seconds. After we skip through her text, we're going to jump up on that roof and get 2 more blood crystals. And this can be tricky. I probably messed up here, I don't remember. Not that badly. And then there's another blood crystal on top of the bridge here. Now we don't actually have to raise this bridge. What we can do is the sunken part of it, we can just jump along. If we stay in the water too long, it's going to force us to respawn. But if we hop as soon as we land each time, you can just spam the jump button. You can get right across. But also you don't even have to go right across, because once the sky turns red, in fact a little before the sky turns red, you can just sink into the water and it will respawn you right at the Desolation Cell. Now what we want to avoid here is talking to Akiko, because she talks for a long time. So we're going to walk around this side and we're going to dash jump over to Henry, bypassing her entirely, and we're going to talk to him. So this conversation gives us the evidence that Henry was set on his dark path to demonic possession by a mysterious stranger who happens to be Yuri, which we'll find out later. This also unlocks the Henry's demonic possession case file, which is the 4th one we have now. The first 2 were given to us by Judge, and Henry's escape was given to us during that phone call with Akiko. After this conversation, the game will tutorialize receiving evidence a little bit. And this is another reason you really don't want to have that first conversation with Akiko, because she gives you a lot of different pieces of evidence and this tutorial takes a lot longer because of that. So after the conversation, we want to look at the ground here, which gives us half a piece of evidence for establishing the timeline of Henry's escape. Then we dive in the water to death warp back to the save point. So we're going to return to the mainland the same way we got here. We're going to jump most of the way across the bridge. This one's a little more precise than the last one. So when the sky changes back to blue, you have to go a little bit further before you can dive in the water. And it's also quite difficult to get the positioning right so that you hit the right save point on the other end. I jumped too early, and so I respawned near Crimson rather than near the start of the bridge, which is a bit of a time loss. So we want to make our way back to where we were, and then there's a vending machine there, which I believe is our 3rd one. So we buy that, and then we want to head towards the courthouse, where we're going to get the other end of Henry's escape timeline. To get up there faster, we're going to walk underneath it and we're going to respawn, which is another thing I learned from RainbowNun's run. So, at the top, we're going to look at where Henry was found, which will give us the full timeline, and we'll discover that there's no way Henry could have made it that distance just on foot. And then we're going to go look at the bodies of the guards, and we only have to look at the left box here, which will establish that they are not actually martial guards, they are substitutes, which we're going to need. This also gives us our next case file, who killed the martial guards. So without that, we couldn't convict Akiko for it.
What the hell? I need to investigate this.
Then we're going to run up here, we're going to talk to Shinji, which will unlock another case file, the 2nd seal, because that's what this is. And he's also going to give us the helmet that we're going to need to convict Yuri later.
That's strange. How? Got it. How? I have a bad sorry. Where? Got it. Ooh, what the heck? I don't.
Now to really solidify the case against Yuri, we have to go around here and find the petals where the helmet was found. And that'll establish that it must have been him that wore it, apparently. It's pretty tenuous. And then we want to make our way back towards the headquarters, and we're going to pick up 4 blood crystals along the way. Next is another thing I stole from RainbowNun. So if you go up this elevator and then drop down the other side, you're right at the library, which is the final piece of evidence you need to convict Yuri for Henry's demonic possession as well. So we go in there and we look at the box on the right, and that'll verify that Yuri accessed those records.
Got it.
Once we're at the library, we're going to respawn to death warp to a save point again, and then get another vending machine, which is our fourth. So I mentioned there's two pieces of evidence in this game that are relationship based. The first is witnesses and the second is Lydia's. So we're going to fast travel to where Crimson was because that's closer to Lydia and head towards her from there. On our way, we're going to run into one last kiss, and she can talk for quite a while, but if you choose the second option each time, I think it's a little shorter.
The investigator. Sure, that's true. Man, your name is. Aren't you paying attention? Is this a fact or a truth?
And then we want to run around behind where Lydia was to get our fifth vending machine. Then we're going to jump up here and hang out with her. And this is the first of two hangouts we need, and it won't make sense why we're doing this until the second one, but this just increases the relationship which we need to do.
Let's go through.
I.
What the hell are you talking?
I need to.
It's comms.
Thank you.
So most of the evidence we need now is locked behind nightmare computers, so we need to upgrade Starlight. That's going to require us to do a little side quest with a ghost and also find 5 more vending machines. To fund that, we're going to grab 2 blood crystals in these back gardens. And then we're going to run around to the front of the house and get our 6th vending machine. Turning around the corner here, we're going to pick up a blue crest that's on the ground, because that'll get us 2 blood crystals fairly easily. Then we're going to jump up here and get our 7th vending machine. Opposite that's the Crying Grudge statue where we can cash in the blue crest for those crystals. And then round the corner from here is Ezra Albertine's ID card that we're going to need for the pyramids upgrade. We're going to grab a crystal under this bridge. We're going to jump up and get our 8th vending machine. I guess that's our 9th. I must have forgotten about one, but I did get it in the run. We're going to cross this bridge, pick up a couple of blood crystals along the way, and find the final 10th vending machine at the end of the bridge. So Dead Nebula is going to call us here and tell us that there's a Starlight upgrade jammed in the vending machine that's in the warehouse just ahead of where we are now. So we can pick that up straight away before we head towards Ezra's ghost, who will give us access to the final pyramids upgrade. So the one in here gives us the worship upgrade, which is only used once, but as far as I'm aware you can't skip it. So we show Ezra his old ID card and remind him of his identity, and he gives us the code for his locker where the final pyramids upgrade is,
The investigator is here.
and then we can go and get that, and that will be all 3 Starlight upgrades.
Got it. That's strange.
Once we get that, we want to install all 3 of those, and now we can unlock any Nightmare computer in the game. So before we do anything else, this is kind of a good time to get a piece of evidence we need for the case file the judge gave us about KHX's disappearance. We can jump off this bridge at the right spot to death warp over to a safe point across. And then we can run around the land here and find KHX's body, where he'll be holding a ring that we will have to identify by talking to Lydia again. As you can see, my movement is so bad that you could easily beat my time with this route.
Sure, I have. Oh.
So like before, we only need to look at one of these boxes, the one over his hand specifically, and that gets us the ring.
Me.
Then after that, we dash into the water to death warp back to a safe point again. Now we're going to buy another fast travel and go back to talk to Witness for the second time. We're going to hang out with him and we're going to tell him that we don't want his plant because it doesn't make a difference except that it's slightly faster. Apparently, our relationship with him is still improved by this. Now we're going to do something fun. The only major glitch I use in this run, and I'm not even 100% sure it's faster, but it's entertaining, so I want to show it off. What you want to do is walk into the water and then quickly jump and dash out, and the game will keep your water physics, meaning that every time you jump, you're going to have this really high floaty arc. This was discovered by a player called Shamu, so we affectionately call it whale jumping. It's a bit of a double-edged sword because once you jump, you're committed to that really high, slow arc, and if it's not going where you want it to, it can be a fairly big time loss, which is why I'm not even sure it's worth doing, but I wanted to show off, and it does help for a few bigger jumps later on. You can see exactly what I'm talking about here. I'll completely miss where I'm trying to land. But once I work that one out, we're going to hang out with Lydia again. Talking to her here will unlock another piece of evidence. She'll tell you about the ring that we found. She'll say that it's Yuri's and that he was looking for it. And this is all we need to convict Yuri for the murder of KHX.
Come on, LD. It's
The
weird, it's complicated. Come on.
I don't got it.
Right on, LD. Weird. The island feels bad, LD.
So next up is the dead zone, which will give us a nail in the coffin for both Witness and Sam for their respective crimes. Bear in mind we still have whale jumps at this point, so jumping is kind of fraught. We want to mostly be dash hopping or running. And as you can see, we wouldn't have been able to get in here if we didn't have both the pyramids and the cosmos upgrades for Starlight. Once we're through here, we're going to dash hop to the switch that opens Witness's bunker. Then we're going to get stuck.
Sure. What the hell? Sure.
And then we're going to investigate the bunker itself. So this will show that Witness has crates capable of containing demons, which we may find one of later on.
Test me.
Coming out here, we want to dash over to Sam's little mini fridge and pull out the blood vial of Kafka memory.
Investigate that. Nanny the hell
And this is going to be used later to show that he breached the third seal, which we don't have the case file for just yet.
like this.
Afterwards, we're going to go through the secret passage, which should come out at Sam's bar. Afterwards, we're going to go through the secret passage, which should come out at Sam's bar. The other safe contains the Godflesh for opening the fourth seal, but we don't even need that because Sam will confess to it once you get him for the third seal.
Sure.
Next up is where whale jumping becomes more useful and also more dangerous. One thing to note is that you want to dash when you're at the top of your jump if you don't want to bounce and go further. That's the only way to be any kind of precise with whale jumping. Then we're going to exploit that bounce on purpose to get kind of a fake double jump. We're going to dash into the ground to bounce, we're going to jump again in the air, and then we're going to dash at the end to get on top of the dead zone. Now we're going to unlock the valve on top of the dead zone so that the barracks will empty and the marshals will investigate here, because we're going to need to go to the barracks later, but we won't do that just now. After we solve this nightmare computer, we're going to run round beside it and face towards the Ziggurat. Once LLD stops talking, we're going to do another fake double jump. So we're going to jump, dash and bounce off this vent, jump again in the air, and dash up onto the cliff. This works because the bounce from the dash doesn't actually count as a jump, so you still have your jump. We're going to be careful not to fall here, which is a little slow, and then we're going to do another fake double jump to get up onto the Ziggurat. So this next part is straight up embarrassing and shows how risky whale jumps can be. I try for way too long to get on top of this altar here to do the puzzle. If you hit a wall, it will just eat all of your horizontal momentum and you won't be able to land on the thing you're going towards. And if you don't hit anything at all, you're going to be committed to your jump arc and you might just go straight over wherever you were intending to land. Once I finally get where I'm meant to be, we're going to hit the first, second, and fourth skulls to solve this puzzle and unlock the door. Even though you can get there without doing the puzzle, the door won't unlock unless you do it. So this door will take us to the graves of Ai's Kiwami and Grace Bloodlines. We don't need Ai's grave at all. Normally you would use that to prove that Dainonagate is related to Ai's Kiwami and therefore has council blood, but you don't need that because once you get Yuri, he'll confess to the whole thing and say it for you. What we do need is Grace's tomb because this is the only way to open the Who Killed Grace Bloodlines, or the Murder of Grace Bloodlines case file. We don't actually need to talk to her after this though, we just need that case file opened in the first place.
Mystery awaits. The investigator. Crime. Oh, very sure. And those are facts. But are they the truth? What the? Got it. Got it. I don't like this. Got it.
So once we get out of the Ziggurat, we want to go straight to where Dainonagate's bunker is and head in there with the pile bunker gauntlets that we got from Sam's bar. Before this next cutscene starts, we can jump towards the door at the far end, which will save a little bit of time as well. This whole section, by the way, is why we can't skip the vending machines or the worship upgrade, because we need the pile bunker gauntlets to even see Dainonagate. And given that he's the one who did all the murders, we can't really convict the right person otherwise.
That's strange. That's weird. Got it.
So, once Dainonagate's corridor key has opened these portals, we can get the last of the case files that we need. We don't need to do the second seal at all because we can warp straight to the council chamber and just look at the fourth and third seals from there. This is also where the killer demon is, so that's the last 3 case files are from here.
Sure. The investigate don't. Sure. I don't like this. Ooh. Sure.
The fourth one's just sitting in the doorway there with a bunch of eyes spinning around it. And we don't actually need any evidence for the fourth seal because the convictions for the second and third seals will have the culpable people just confess to it. Next is the third seal, which is a blood lock. This is why we had to find the blood vial from Sam's mini fridge, because this will show that he accessed the seal. And as LLD says there, to seal that deal on Sam, we need to talk to Doomjazz, which is one of the last things we'll do. Finally, we have the killer demon in here. This, of course, unlocks the mystery of the killer demon case file, and also seeing the crate that it came in ties this back to Witness because we found that in his bunker.
Yeah. That's strange. Sure. What the hell? The investigator is here. Got it. Ooh, the investigator is here.
So we're going to go back through the portal, and then we're going to go through another portal which conveniently opens onto Witness's balcony, and we can hang out with him for the 3rd time. So once we click through this text, Witness is going to tell us that he used to be married to Carmelina, and this will prove that Carmelina used to wear a wedding ring, which is going to be vital evidence in the murder of Grace bloodlines in just a moment.
Got it.
The gods are watching us. The end times are looming. Other gods work in esoteric space.
Next, we're going to do another whale jump onto the barracks over here. This one's tricky, you have to bounce right off the edge of the balcony. And even then, you barely make it half the time. And now the barracks are empty, so we won't be stopped from going in, and we can steal evidence from there. So after this second nightmare computer, we're going to go into the evidence locker, and again we only need the square on the left, which is the photo of Grace Bloodline's autopsy, showing the strangulation marks with the wedding ring imprint. And this is how we're going to prove it was Carmelina later. But again, we need to talk to Doomjazz to verify that that is what the mark is.
Sorry.
Then after this, we're going to just respawn and death warp to a fast travel point. Conveniently, this is relatively close to Doomjazz, so we're going to go over there. I should also mention that respawning in any way takes away your whale jumps, so we're back to having normal gravity. And I completely forget that and fall in the water here. And usually I would do this part with whale jumps, but I changed the route slightly, so I'm not used to getting to Doomjazz and it's slowing me down here. I eventually just give in and run to him normally. So, Doomjazz can prove two things to us. One, that the mark around Grace's neck was a wedding ring mark, which we can use to prove that Carmelina killed her. And the second thing is, who opened the third seal, he can tell us that Sam had access to the blood vial that was stolen.
Got it.
That's not. I had no idea.
The investigator is sure.
Hey.
What the hell?
What?
I have a bad feeling about this.
You've got this wrong. I had nothing to do with this.
So there's only one other thing we need before the trial. We're going to death warp to a fast travel point and go talk to Crimson one last time.
Fast travel unlocked. Starlight skins obtained. Crimson acid.
What we need from her is to buy the tip about Grace Bloodlines, and she'll tell us about the unencrypted message Carmelina sent to Akiko to leave her alone with Grace Bloodlines. And that's the last piece of evidence we need to convict her. And then once we're done, we just fast travel back to the courthouse and begin the trial. So there's a couple of other little any percent optimizations you can do here. So once the trial starts, there's going to be a cutscene where LLD looks up to the sky as the end of the island starts happening. And while that's happening, you can jump up onto the podium, which gets you slightly closer to the gun you need to pick up.
It is coward. How do your job? Don't test me. Do whatever. Is this a fact? What? I beg your pardon. The journey.
Then you grab that, talk to Judge, and the trial starts.
Lady Love dies.
So the first case is Henry's escape, and all you need to convict Akiko for this is that the timeline doesn't match up. So that's why we had to look at the desolation cell and then also where Henry was found.
Show me your truth. Pull up.
We just refuse to give any other evidence, and that saves some time.
Sorry. Primers. I have. Don't win.
Akiko will also sell out Carmelina, and that unlocks Carmelina's conspiracy, which is the 11th case file.
Linorachito, you're out of your mind.
Next up is Henry's demonic possession, which, as we said before, we know that Yuri accessed the demonic books from the library, and we also know that a stranger provided Henry with those books, and that's enough to nail Yuri for that. He also sells out Carmelina here, but I don't think that gives you any vital evidence right now.
All that remains are the facts. I have a bad feeling about it. Is cowardly.
Show me your truth.
How
I am.
worthless.
This is
Don't leave me in love.
Next up is the murder of Grace Bloodlines, which we've talked a lot about. Basically, we just need that photo, Doomjazz's testimony, and then the tip from Crimson.
The facts and the
Show me your truth. Show me your truth.
crap. How dare I don't. Ooh, the investigate. This is not.
Show me your truth. The court finds Carmelina guilty.
This is nonsense.
Next up is who killed the Holy Seal Marshals. All we need for this is that they weren't the Seal Marshals at all, which implicates Akiko. And because we've already convicted her for something else, Judge is willing to prosecute her without any other evidence.
Is this a
Show me your truth.
I don't like this. Got it. Paradise. Sorry. Got it.
Show me.
Crime is rep.
Show me your truth.
Is this a fact?
This you have no evidence. Good, I'm a soldier.
Next up is who killed KHX, or KHX is missing. And all we need for this is Yuri's ring and Lydia's testimony that the ring belongs to Yuri. And as tenuous as that is, Judge is all for it.
Is this a fact?
Show me your truth.
I don't.
Don't be naive.
Show me your truth.
We have achieved perfect.
Nonsense, but
I am the lead.
The court finds Yuri guilty.
Next is the second Holy Seal, which you could, in theory, convict either Lydia or Yuri, but if you don't convict Yuri here, you can't convict him for any of the other things that he did. And you can get Lydia's conviction for this anyway when you get Sam for the next case. So all we need here is the helmet with the petals, and Judge kind of argues with you a bit, but I think because you've already convicted Yuri of other things,
Test me.
that's enough for this one.
What's wrong? Crime is. I have a better crime is.
He also dishes the dirt on Dainonagate here, which saves you from having to bring that up separately.
This is nonsense. I don't like this.
This confession also implicates Dainonagate for breaching the third and fourth seals, which he did also do.
What? Paradise feels wrong. Don't test me.
you vile insect.
The fact I am crime cannot hide.
Next up is the third seal. We already have confessions that Yuri and Dainonagate breached it, and we need to accuse Sam as well, because he did that also. For this we just need the blood vial and Doomjazz's testimony.
Crime cannot.
What the?
Show me your.
During his confession here, he sells out Witness, explaining that it was Witness's cargo they were taking into the council building. He also confesses to breaching the fourth seal, which saves us having to do that in the next case. And Lydia also confesses here to breaching the first and second seals. Now, this is also why she gets convicted of killing the martial guards, because for some reason her breaching the first seal applies to that case. There doesn't seem to be any way around that that still lets you get other convictions.
Is this a fact? Don't test me.
The court finds Yuri and Dainonagate guilty.
So next up is the fourth seal, and everybody has already confessed to that. So we tell Judge that there's someone else, and that ropes in Sam as well as Yuri and Dainonagate, and then you can just skip the rest of that whole case, and the right people get convicted. So that's Sam, Yuri, and Dainonagate. Now we have the mystery of the dead killer demon. We found the bunker, and also Sam and Lydia already confessed, explaining what Witness's plan was, and just that is enough to convict Witness of this.
Is this a fact? Don't test me.
Show me your truth.
Paradise feels wrong. I have.
Show me.
Crime is repulsive.
Show me your truth.
Surely this is a joke.
The court finds witness to the end.
When love dies, all that remains are the facts.
So the final real case is just who killed the council, and the only evidence you need for this is that Dainonagate confessed, and that Dainonagate's knife has all of the council members' blood on it. So you just need to say those 2 points, and then he'll be convicted for that. And then, basically, until we leave the trial room, the rest of this is just skipping text. Carmelina and Witness's conspiracies are the next 2 cases, but they're not really interactive. If you have the evidence for them, they will be convicted no matter what.
I have a bad feeling about this. Crime is repulsive. I don't like this. Oh, the fact paradise feels wrong. Don't test me. Crime cannot hide. Crime is repulsive. Is this a fact or a truth? Don't test me. Is this when love dies? All that got it. Is this a fact or a truth? Paradise feels wrong. Crime cannot hide. Paradise feels wrong. When love dies, all that remains. I don't.
I beg your pardon. How dare you?
How the fact
Craft is its do. You have
this is crime. Crime is repulsive. Crime cannot. Paradise feels wrong. The facts and the truth are not the same. The facts and the truth are not the same. I have.
I have the you sinners a lie and a scheme.
So now the trials are over, and all that's left is to shoot basically every character in the game and check that you got the right convictions, which I hope I did. I haven't checked. So that was 2 for Akiko, 2 for Carmelina. Should be none for the next 3. Then we have the 2 for Lydia, the 2 for Sam after that. Then 2 for Witness. Then 5 for Yuri. None for One Last Kiss. 3 for Dainonagate. And then none for Killer Demon. So the run's valid as long as I get back to the car. And so after the next cutscene and some dialogue, it's just all about returning to the car as fast as possible. Now for this return journey, I really recommend watching any run other than mine. In fact, probably just improvising would be faster than me, because I fuck this up every single time. So you can see me slowly making my way across this roof, getting stuck. I barely get onto the barracks. And then try and jump over to this building opposite and completely mess it up. So then I'm going the slow way. Not even dashing half the time because I'm so defeated by this point. somehow manage to get stuck even more times and then get to the car. And then time comes when Shinji stops talking and disappears from the screen. So just a couple seconds from now, there we go. So I hope that was helpful to watch and that you want to play this game now because it's a lot of fun and it's a surprisingly good speed game for like a murder mystery story. Thanks for watching.